This segment we're doing from KUCB, where our motto is truth is the wealth of freedom, and we communicate to educate and organize. This segment is called the Good Old Boys Network, and we call it that because we want to just go back and give you a little bit of history about the Good Old Boys Network. If we go back to the year 1974-75, at the time that Richard Nixon was president of the U.S., and they was having a discussion with his cabinet members about what they considered to be the next greatest threat would be to America. And they said at that time the rise of Islam. That would be the next greatest threat. So from that point on to up to today, they have strategized and planned out these methods. Each president has taken his turn in planning to continue to push this hatred towards the religion and towards Islam. And what we've been seeing inside the U.S. the last 10 to 20 years, religion has grown by leaps and bounds, something that they didn't expect. But we know Allah is the one that's in control of this. Allah is in control of everything. It has nothing to do with them being able to control that part, but we know Allah is in control of this. So the Good Old Boys Network is individuals who were involved in the Good Old Boys Network during the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and we look at the type of methods and the type of things that they used to form the Good Old Boys Network. You always had judges, you always had people involved with the local police department, the city councils, the governors, the mayors. All those individuals was involved in the Good Old Boys Network, and the network was set up in most of the southern states at that particular time. We're talking about 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and 70s, even up to the 80s and the 90s. And still today, we see the Good Old Boys Network that's still being carried out. So we want to just kind of get into this, if we will, and just kind of talk about it a little bit. The things that we see happening today is that we see the mass media has kind of taken on the role to demonize, if you will, Islam and the Muslims in this country, in the U.S., and mainly throughout the world, and then especially brothers and sisters who are coming here from another part of the world, from another country, that make it seem like that they're coming here trying to take over America. The same kind of language that was being used by the Good Old Boys Network, the white supremacists in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, made it seem like because African Americans wanted rights, they wanted to take over, were trying to take over the country, take over America. This kind of thinking, that kind of sickness, that kind of disease that's in the heart and the minds of individuals. The Good Old Boy Network we're talking about. And so we have those kind of individuals still around today. Suits, ties, three-piece suit. Maybe you think that they probably wouldn't think that we'll act that way. But when they open their mouths and start talking, the same kind of disturbing language comes out of their mouth as it did during the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. You had people like George Wallace, you had Bull Connor, you had people that was in Mississippi, Lester Maddox, you had Strom Thurmond, people in South Carolina. These people were part of the Good Old Boys Network. And so, when you had judges, you had police officers, you had all these individuals that was part of that, because they kept that going. Plus, if you mixed in Jim Crow with that. So today, you had the Good Old Boys Network directly, mainly today, at the Muslims. And still, there are segments of the African American community still is included in this, because the picture is being painted also about the Muslims at the same time, about the Muslim community, the Muslims who are coming from other countries, and also this negative picture is being painted about the African American community. So you still have that Good Old Boys Network. We're going to take a little break here, and we'll be back, inshallah, to get into the second segment of this topic, the Good Old Boys Network, KUCB Radio, where we communicate to educate and organize, and truth is the wealth of freedom.